Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Live Trading Room's daily Forex analysis. Today it's Monday, January 29. It's 15 minutes past 10 in the morning. Let's see how the Forex market is behaving through the index grid of our best and worst dashboard. The US dollar is in first position, gaining 2.11% on its currency basket, followed by the euro, ahead by 0.69%, and the Canadian dollar gaining 0.38%. The Australian dollar is just below parity, losing 0.06%. The British pound is down by 0.13%. The yen is losing 0.14%. Then we have the New Zealand dollar down by 1.21% and the Swiss franc losing 1.60%. The power strength gives us the Swiss franc 100% short and the US dollar 100% long. We have high percentages on the Canadian dollar and the euro also, respectively 85% short and 85% long. The best trades so far on the Forex market are US dollar Swiss franc up by 0.48% and New Zealand dollar US dollar losing 0.42%. Now let's go to the charts to analyze the majors. Aussie US dollar is moving in a slight bearish tendency, losing 0.25% on a daily basis. The market is now correcting upward from the daily low marked just below the entry level of the bearish zone of the target geometry at 0.8077. We have a bullish price action at a scalping and intraday level, although we have the higher time frames moving in a bearish tendency. The problem is we have an 85% long Australian dollar against an 85% long US dollar, so it's highly probable that we're going to see the market register an inside trading day. Should the market close below the entry level of the bearish zone of the target geometry at 0.8080, we may have a continuation to the downside, but for now the market is moving inside the no trade zone of the target geometry, so we do not have a clear operative signal right now. The euro dollar is also moving in a slight bearish tendency below the entry level of the bearish zone of the target geometry at 1.2406. We have a bearish price action at an intraday and multi-day level, and the pair is losing 0.21% on a daily basis. We have an RSI below 50 from M5 to H1, and we have a 57% long euro against an 85% long US dollar. So should the market remain below 124.06, we may have a continuation to the downside. The cable is moving in a bearish tendency just inside the bearish zone of the target geometry below the entry level at 1.4113. Market is now trying to correct upward after the intraday low marked at 140.94. In fact, we have a bullish price action at a scalping level, although the higher time frames are moving in a bearish tendency and we have a breakout of the previous low on the H4 time frame. The pair is losing 0.30% and we have an RSI below 50 from M5 to H4. So with a 57% long British pound against an 85% long US dollar, we may have a continuation to the downside. Kiwi US dollar is moving in a slight bearish tendency. We already saw the market mark two intraday lows inside the bearish zone of the target geometry. The intraday low was marked at target number 1 at 0.7317. We have a bearish price action from the scalping to the multi-day level, and the pair is losing 0.42% on a daily basis. We have an RSI below 50 from M5 to H4, so with a 57% short New Zealand dollar against an 85% long US dollar, we may have a continuation to the downside under 0.7324. US dollar Canada is moving in a bullish tendency inside the bullish zone of the target geometry, just around target number 2 at 123.47. We have a bullish price action on the higher time frames, and the pair is gaining 0.19% on a daily basis. We have an RSI above 50 from M15 to H1, and we have a 57% short Canadian dollar against an 85% long US dollar. So should the market remain above the entry level of the bullish zone of the target geometry at 1.2324, we may have a continuation of the bullish move. US dollar Swiss franc is moving in a bullish tendency, although it's now violently correcting down from the intraday high marked at 0.9386. In fact, we have a bearish price action at a scalping and intraday level and a breakout of the previous lows from M5 to H1. The pair is still gaining 0.29%. But now we also have an RSI below 50 on every time frame except M30. So should the market remain above target number 1 of the target geometry at 0.9351, we may have a continuation to the upside. Below this level, we should change attitude and consider to wait for bearish signal on an intraday level. Let's close the analysis with US dollar yen, which is now moving in a slight bullish tendency, just below the entry level of the bullish zone of the target geometry at 108.90. We have a bearish price action at a scalping and intraday level and a breakout of the previous lows on M1, M30, and H1. The pair is still gaining 0.17%, but now we have an RSI below 50 on every time frame. So we may have a bullish continuation considering we have an 85% short yen against an 85% long US dollar, but should the market come down below the daily opening, we should change attitude and look for bearish signals. That's all for today's analysis. Thank you for your attention. Good day and good trading from Live Trading Room Trading Community.